Sure.
Hi, Paul Sakis, Good News Planet, speaking to Dr. Barbara Becker Holstein. Hi, Dr. Holstein. How are you?
I'm good, Paul, and I'm very excited to be back with you. It's a while since we got together, and it's great to talk about my project, the
Well,
Enchanted Self, still.
I'm looking forward because just talking to you, I feel more enchanted with life, and I don't know why that is. Do you have anything that says enchanted self? Do you like that word?
I invented that, I guess you could say. Of course, it's public. It's just 3 words that exist in our language. But after I interviewed a number of women who were not in my practice to see what they thought about their childhoods and how that affected them, particularly their self-esteem as they grew up, it came to me as I was actually sitting in my car down by the beach reading the transcripts. This quote just floated through my mind, the enchanted self. And as I thought about it, it's like, that's what's missing from most people is the enchantment about themselves. They don't realize that they're special, that they have potential, that everyone else is taken. You don't have to copy somebody else. There's something unique about each of us.
Everybody is a star.
Yes.
I love that thought. We're all perfect. We're beautiful. Some, though, are a little excessive about how wonderful
Yes.
and fantastic they are. How about those types?
Well, there is narcissism for sure. And, look, people are far from perfect. Even those people that I teach and encourage, I recognize that they've been damaged by parents or a teacher or a lover or, falling in the street and not getting the right medical care or whatever. But there's still sparks of potential in most people.
We
That's
like that.
Yeah, that's the way.
Optimism. Even the pandemic, in what we are saying here, can be a disaster or an opportunity for young people, you say. You're an award-winning author and filmmaker, Dr. Barbara Becker Holstein. Tell us about that title and what that title represents. And I believe you made a movie in this regard.
Yes, I've made many short films since we last talked. To just sum it up, the first thing that happened was the Enchanted Self book, teaching people how to tap into more of their potential. And the title of that is The Enchanted Self, and a positive therapy. I've had so many books, I have to now remember each title. But after that, writing 2 books for girls, because I recognized you have to start somewhere. And kids often need a real uplift. They need to feel they're special. They need to feel they have courage to handle even their parents or their grandparents or a neighbor down the street. It's not so easy to grow up. And then social media, all these things that most people realize are going on today and make it hard for kids. So I wrote 3 books for girls, basically in diary form. So the girl comes alive through keeping her diary. And the books have been quite successful. They're published by Sky Pony Press out of New York. And many kids write to me that they were uplifted. They felt not alone. And what happened was that eventually, oh, by the way, the 2 of the titles are The Truth, Diary of a Gutsy Tween, and then Secrets, Diary of a Gutsy Teen. And I should mention my newest baby, the 3rd one, Conflict and a Bit of Magic. She's now a teenager in the 3rd book. All of this led to thinking about writing a play, which I did about the girl, which was produced once around here in Monmouth County. And then why not do films about this girl? Films that a kid and her mother or grandmother or dad, they could sit and watch. and talk a little bit about crushes and falling in love and hating your teacher and somebody encouraging you to drink alcohol and at a party and your best friend moving. And I could go on like 35 topics. So my films have become quite well known, and you may not believe this because I can hardly believe it. They've either been selected or won an award at over 100 film festivals.
Yay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised myself, but I've had wonderful help. Well, I've had two actresses that carried the day, two young actresses, and particularly Megan Brown has been in a lot of the films. She has been able to adapt to all the problems and love interests and fighting and whatever I've put into the films. And not only has she acted, but she's used her selfie phone, her iPhone, to record the scene. So we've only needed minimal help from a professional camera person. And I call this the Selfie Project, because really the breakthrough of the technology breakthrough of the iPhone, the Android, et cetera, hasn't even come into its own yet. It's a total remake of a lot of things that we can do in life, like keeping a diary, like making a film. It's amazing. So I like being on the cusp of things. I just like that. I like being an innovator, even if I don't get famous or make a lot of money. But yes, maybe I still will make some money. Of course, I have a psychology practice. I'm not, I've earned my keep, so to speak. But the idea of putting things out into the universe that will help people and surprise them of things they can even do. That's I feel like my mission.
I can respect it. I have 50 years in with that mission. Of making TV shows. I went into, I don't know if you recollect, I went into show business instead of the shoe business, which my daddy had, because of Show All in the Family. And it was, you laughed with this bigot or you cried with the bigot, but you learned that Archie Bunker was a bigot, and that was television, that was media. And I've always felt that this little guy here, now, today, many years later, I mean, I've stuck to this broadcasting media, using positive value. Our Good News is 23 years old. And we started when Google started and YouTube. So, we're totally on the page that you have, and more so, I mean, I make shows now all the time. I don't have to have a truck. I don't have to have satellite feeds. It's miraculous. And so everybody can be a producer. And once again, we hope that those people who consider broadcasting something have a good message to share. That's our opportunity. See, I feel that this is good, and this is what I work towards. Can happen. We can all be watching something, all 8 billion of us, on this silly little phone. The technology accepts it. So you're now using it in many ways. Give me a little example of, in your movie, of something that, some takeaways that some young people can
take.
Glean, yes. Glean on.
Well, one of the most fascinating things that happened to the girl in several of the films ties into becoming aware of her own body chemistry and growing up and what we call coming of age, the feelings and thoughts we get as teenagers rather than as children. And she first had a crush on a little boy in her classroom. He probably didn't even know it, which is shown in the film. And finally, she kind of walks away from him because she gets taller and he gets shorter. And, that's kind of a silly reason in life to walk away from someone, but it fits completely the way 11 or 12-year-old, They want to go to the dance and have someone tall enough to dance with them or whatever. So he leaves the scene. And then what happens is the boy on the bus, who was like 4 inches taller than her, walks down the aisle and she's suddenly in La La Land, and she starts talking about him all the time to her girlfriends, to her mother. And particularly she talks about him when they go to the restaurant on Tuesday night, where they eat out a special treat because the daddy is teaching a course and grandma takes the younger child, the little boy. So they go out, and what does she do as soon as they're in the Italian restaurant? She tells the mother what the boy wore that day and how he looked. Maybe he's getting a cold, he had Kleenex on the bus, whatever. She goes through her stuff, and the waiter is just standing there, a nice older man, and finally he takes their order. So what goes along in the story is she wants to go to the dance desperately. And will he invite her? Will he? She doesn't know. She gets some rumors from her best girlfriend. Now, best girlfriends are a critical thing of teenage girls, that he's going to invite her. And he does. The phone call comes in. She's ecstatic. She's in heaven. Okay, she goes to the dance. And in the next scene, there's a scene of the dance. You see them dancing. It's very nice and innocent, they're not too close, but they're dancing, it's fun. And now it's late at night in the next scene, and she's miserable. She says, this is like the most horrible night of my life. But then she says, just a minute, I'm hungry, I have to eat. I mean, this girl is totally human. She's just like your own daughter or granddaughter. And so she says, I can't believe what happened tonight. And basically, of course, he came to get her. He doesn't drive. The father drove. And when she got in the car, it turned out that his father was the waiter who had waited on them all year when she's talking about him in the restaurant. And he must have stood and heard things about this, his own son, maybe 30 weeks in the course of the year. And she's humiliated because she doesn't know whether the father encouraged the date. She never will know. And she thinks about it, and there's some scenes where she's pondering it. She's sitting outside thinking. And this particular film ends with her looking at, guess what? Her phone. And on the phone is his number. And he's invited her to the movies with his friend and the girl that the friend is seeing. You don't know what's going to happen, but just think of all the conversations that a family can have. You had a first date some time ago. I did,
Last week, yeah.
Yeah. Even grandma had a first date, even a 7-year-old would enjoy a story, So this type of film that I've made, and there's about 10 of them, and they're available on Amazon. It's a gateway to learn more about yourself and to keep communication going in a family as kids grow up.
It has moral value.
Yes, well put.
And an educational opportunity and a life experience consideration of how things can be. Someone sent me a little moral commentary about a squirrel. A squirrel goes and gets a lot of nuts. Some of the nuts they dig and they put hide, so they can go back and eat those squirrels at a later time. Many of them they can't find after they hit them. Right? And what happens to those nuts that those squirrels put somewhere? They become trees. So somehow times you might not think that something happens now, but it might just happen at a later moment. And then, that's a miracle and a beautiful scenario. You have one more little, please.
Yeah, I want to tell you about the Zoom work we did during the pandemic. So with my helpers, I have a producer, and we were planning to take several of the stories of this girl now being a grown-up, because life is complicated and everybody does grow up whether you want to or not. And we had have some stories where she's in a marriage, a first marriage, and it's not going that well. And we were all set. We were finding characters and the whole thing. And guess what happened? You know, the pandemic. And so we let things go for months. But then one day I was thinking, actually one night, middle of the night thoughts, I was thinking, I wonder if we can do this on Zoom instead. You know, we have the script. It's a good script. We have our stuff. And I'm thinking, well, we can't really have actors probably move from room to room and all different things that are more comfortable when you really, you know, can use all your facilities. But why can't we go back to sort of old-fashioned drama? You know, like Very Little Girl, I listened to on the radio, you know, because that's what was on at night, were drama shows. And so we did it. We took the scripts and we did 3 finally, where we put them on as Zoom dramas. And fortunately, we had some fabulous help with the Zoom work, because there were different effects that had to be put in, and music. And also, we wanted to create a situation where when you look at the actor, it's cleaned up. You know, you're not going to see, like, if you're just doing a podcast, a pile of stuff in the middle of the table, you know, that we made it as clean for the eye as possible. And that was because we had some great help with I call him an engineer who knows how to run these subtle details of Zoom. And so we did the 3 performances, and they've been winning, not yet a lot. I've been sort of hesitant to throw them out into the film world, because is it film, is it not film? But so far, I mean, really, this technology is film. It's just a different form of film. Life is Complicated has won at some of the festivals for this particular way of doing it. And one of the others also, and the third one I'm just beginning to send out. So here's a way of solving a dilemma.
It's all a big show for me, personally. Life is a show. Your eyes are cameras. Your ears are musical instruments. The sound of a honking horn is just like Tchaikovsky. There's he made sound. The horn on that car makes sound. When I came into New York, I was in a cab. I came from little old Tarrytown, you know, very, very quiet little town. And I heard honk, 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 and I'm in a cab, and I say to the guy, how the heck do you handle this? I mean, there's so much noise. I use the word noise. He goes, this is my orchestra. So it's the mindset. To him, all that sound was music. And that kept him going through all day. So I guess it's all about the perspective, the beauty, and the appreciation for our ability to breathe and to be alive. So, Barbara, you do always a great job. I enjoyed speaking with you years ago, and I enjoy it now. Let me ask you one last question at this time, and I thank you very much. I'll include your websites and everything, because you shared a lot of things with me. Is there anything else you want to say? I'm going to ask you one last question.
Okay. I want to encourage parents to realize that the kids have had a really rough year and a half. Things that may seem kind of harmless or small to them, you don't know with your own kid. They can be very, very big. And staying alert and recognizing that a lot of kids are feeling slightly depressive or slightly anxious or both. They need to feel your love and the time that you can put in to help them rebuild some of the lost opportunities, and to just feel that family feeling of connection, whether it's Sunday watching a film together, cooking one night together, whether it's sitting and telling stories from the past for all of you, extra hugs. Kids are suffering. They have had a harder time with the pandemic in many ways than we have because they have less resources. You know, they're younger. They haven't collected as many good or bad things, but it's hard sometimes. So I spend a lot of time trying to help kids, and I just think that's important. Once you understand it, that kids may have big mouths and they may sound like they know it all, but they don't. I think parents often get it and they're very helpful.
That's beautifully stated, says Grandpa Paul. I just got off my granddaughter. I agree 100% with you. This has been a challenging year, but hopefully if you're an adult, you know, you can put it in some kind of perspective, but not to see your friends, to be living in a stressful, scary time. That's a lot for a young child to absorb. And I agree with you. You're brilliant in sharing those thoughts. What is peace for you? My last question. What is peace for you?
Oh, peace for me. Well, on the personal level, is being with other people. I am the kind of person that can fall asleep in a public library because I just like the vibrations of human beings around me. And I love to be with people at a table where we're joking and laughing and feeling good. And I have missed people an awful lot during this, you know, the closeness, I feel we give off a kind of vibrational energy that is loving and stimulates, and I want my piece of it, you know, to use the
I want my people back.
Yeah. So.
I hear you. That's beautifully stated and so wise. Barbara, thanks so much for sharing some time with us. Appreciate the
Thank you. You do. I really appreciate it. Keep doing your great job to bring happiness to this earth.
Well, I can only do it because everybody else shares theirs with me. That gives me happiness, and I'm happy to hear theirs. No matter what they're like, no matter how they play the piano, no matter what they do, if they're happy and they're doing good and not hurting anybody, who am I to say it's not good?
Right.
Enjoy it.
Okay. Thank you again.
Thanks, Barbara. Thank you.